He said, Bhagavad Gita, Kinchid Dita, Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita, Sahrda Yena Murari Samarcha, Kriyate Tasya Yamena Na Charcha. It is said that anybody who reads little bit of Bhagavad Gita or drinks a little bit of Ganga Jala or thinks of Krishna, the divine, for some time at least, such a person need not have a conversation with Yama or need not face Yama. Most of us, towards the end of our lives, though we have lived a full life, yet we are not satisfied. And we keep negotiating with Yama. Give us a little more time so that we can enjoy a little more. Now that I have only son, I should see my grandson. And when grandson is born, I should see my great-grandson. And when the great-grandson is born, I should see my great-great-grandson. And it goes on. That is why Bhartrihari says in Vairagya Shatakam, Trishnana jirna vayameva jirna. Our desires, our thirst does not end. We end, but our desires don't end. And then, if the desires don't end, then we are born again. As Mundaka Upanishad says, Kama bhir jayate tatra tatra. Because of the desires that we have, we are born again and again in different places to fulfill these desires. So the essence of all spirituality is to develop a state of mind which is desireless. But then when you are desireless, how do you work in this world is the next question. You have desire for nothing. Then what should be the motivation for somebody to still be active and working in this world? So that is the question, which is a very important question. Many people think we can become sannyasis because that is when we have no desires and we need not do anything in this world. But then if everybody has only that as the way to attain moksha, then who is going to run the world? Or should we say all those who run the world, the society in different positions and different professions, are they all ignorant people who are not eligible to attain moksha because they have some desire or the other? What should be the method? What should be the way? Is a question that everyone must find an answer to. But most importantly, our scriptures never discouraged us from undertaking action in this society. They never said, run away to the forests. Some school of thought, some gurus, some philosophers may recommend that as the method. Leave everything and run away. Because everything is maya. Maya midam akilam hitva. Brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva. You leave everything, it's all maya. But then when we are in the body and we have duties to carry out every day, responsibilities and duties to discharge, how do we still attain Brahma Jnana? How do we still attain Paramapadam? How do we still attain moksha? While being active in the world is the question that most of the world needs to find an answer to. A few may take through the path of total renunciation and run away to the forests. But not all can do that. So what is the way for the others? That answer is given in Bhagavad Gita, largely, throughout Bhagavad Gita. But more importantly, in this Saankhya Yoga. Saankhya Yoga, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is like the summary, the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita. If you see the Dhyana Shloka which says, Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopala Nandana Patso Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta and Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. It compares all the Upanishads to cows. And it says, Gopala, Krishna is the milkman, the cowherd boy who is going to milk this cow. And Arjuna is the one who is going to drink the milk. And what is this milk? This milk is the Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So essence of all Upanishads is Bhagavad Gita. Essence of Bhagavad Gita is Saankhya Yoga, the second chapter. Therefore, I thought it is important that we spend a little time understanding it. So if Upanishads are cows, milk is Bhagavad Gita, then after churning it, the butter that comes out is this chapter, second chapter, according to me, because it contains all the important concepts of yogas Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, to an extent Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga. All these are summarized in a way in this very chapter. And look at the teacher that Krishna is. You have to really observe Krishna all through the Bhagavad Gita, the way he teaches. He creates a situation, as we all know last time we told, he creates a war situation. What better way to teach somebody about duties than to push them into the situation and not leave it to their imagination, but actually make them experience the gravity of the situation and then make them take decisions and do their duty. Design thinking we talked about. That is Krishna. Last chapter, he took the chariot, placed it in front of the beloved gurus and grandfather of Arjuna. And then Arjuna got confused. And he started giving some convenient philosophical excuses. We should not kill anybody, ahimsa paramo dharma kind of. Why should we destroy our own people? Even if they have harmed us, how does it matter? How should I live after killing them? Our children will have no fathers. There will be Varna Sankara. There will be mixing of races. Our Pitrus will fall from the heavens because they won't get their daily prayers and rituals. And he goes on and on and on. Basically, all these are excuses of not fighting the war. And for once, we may all think that Arjuna is such a kind-hearted warrior. He is okay to beg all his life, but he does not want to harm even those who have harmed us. Sounds like a very idealistic thought. But Krishna does not agree to it, because these reasons that Arjuna gave were not born out of discrimination. They were all born out of attachment, out of ignorance. And therefore Krishna does not allow that to happen. If it was another situation, maybe Krishna would have told, all right. But here, Arjuna was not thinking in a discriminatory way. He was taken up, his buddhi was not thinking in the right way. He was attached to his people, so he did not want to kill them. Because if he really was such a kind-hearted person, he would not have come to the war at all on that morning. But he came prepared. However, after seeing his kith and kin whom he loved, not Duryodhana, Dushasana, Karna and others, but Bhishmacharya, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, he felt, how can I kill these people? They have loved me, they have cared for me. So what if they are on the wrong side? But Krishna is a very disciplinarian teacher. He says, no mixing up things. You are not understanding what you are doing. But nevertheless, he allowed Arjuna to take a whole chapter to express himself. The patient listener that Krishna is. As a teacher, one should be a good listener. We most of the time listen to respond, to give answers, but not for the sake of listening. But Krishna is a great listener. Patiently hears the whole of the first chapters, whatever Arjuna had to say. And then he comes to the second chapter. And how does he set the context? He gives you what he is going to teach you in the entire class. It's a teaching methodology. You come and you set the agenda for the class. You tell, these are the things we are going to be learning in today's class. So I begin with this, and then as the class progresses, you should be able to learn these concepts. At the end of the class, the teacher will summarize, and students will recollect all that which has been learnt. And now they have become knowledgeable. So he sets the agenda for the class. For the whole Bhagavad Gita, he sets the tone in the second chapter of what is to come in the other chapters. So Saankhya Yoga by name itself is a kind of a yoga. See, all Bhagavad Gita is a yoga. Yoga Shastra, Upanishadutsu, Brahma Vidyayam. It is a Brahma Vidya, it is a Shastra of yoga, it is also Upanishad. In fact, summary of all Upanishads. So in this yoga word is basically used from the root yuj. Yuj means to join, to yoke, to connect. It means to unite. So all Bhagavad Gita is about uniting oneself with the higher divinity, uniting one's mind or merging one's mind in the higher mind, as we learnt in Kathopanishad. Do you remember? Yachet vang manasi prajna tad yachet jnanatmani mahatini yachet tad yachet shantatmani. Take all your senses, put them into your mind. Take your mind and put them into the discriminating buddhi, jnana atmani. and take that discriminating buddhi, put it into the Mahati Atmani of the cosmic buddhi, of Samashti buddhi, which is good for all. Your discrimination about what is good for me should now give way to what is good for all. And from there you merge it into the Shanta Atmani, that divine buddhi, which only thinks of what is best, what is good for all without any attachments. So this is the process of yoga. And Arjuna is being taught. See, now you are only thinking about what do you like and what you don't like. But that is not the way to take decisions. You are feeling uncomfortable fighting this war, but that is your personal problem. Don't mix it with what is good for the whole society. And more importantly, what is your dharma, which is beyond what is good and bad of society. Beyond that is your dharma as a Kshatriya, which is what the divine has given you this life for. To protect dharma, you are a Kshatriya, you have to fight the war. So your mind should rise from your personal ideas to the idea of the society to what the divine wants us to do in our lives. That is yoga. So Sankhya yoga is an analytical knowledge. It's not a knowledge which is theoretical but analytical. Very detailed and deductive, what you call deductive knowledge. You observe things around you, you make certain hypothesis, you analyze that against the facts and observations, then you come to a conclusion. This is Sankhya, this is the process of Sankhya, of analyzing and then acquiring that knowledge. So that is what our scriptures have taught us. You analyze everything around us. You see what's going on. Then you come to a conclusion. Test it against your experiences, Shastra Pramana, Tarkavada, then Svanubhava. So that is what Krishna is trying to teach Arjuna. That is why it's called Sankhya Yoga, yoga or knowledge which is based on analysis, which has been thought over, which has been observed, analyzed and concluded. That is the yoga that Krishna is going to teach. So you have already gone through the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga. I wanted to talk to all of you once every chapter finishes. I wanted to talk to you, teach you a little summary of what Sankhya Yoga is all about. So the beginning is, as we all know, he is still crying, and Sanjaya is saying that Arjuna is still under confusion. He cannot think what is right from wrong. And he almost concludes that I cannot fight this war. It's not for me. He has already fallen on his seat. The Gandiva has slipped from his hand. Sweat is on his forehead. And he has developed examination fever. And he's shivering. So we don't know what next. So that is the time when Krishna scolds him to shake him out of this reverie, this constant crying and lamenting. Krishna had to use some strong words. See, he's a teacher. That is why I say I enjoy the teaching methodology of Krishna. Sometimes people keep talking and they are not ready to listen. That time I have to raise my voice. Hey, then everybody is silent. Then I have their attention. So now Krishna, to get Arjuna's attention, he says, where is this weakness coming to you from? Kutastva kashmalamidam. Where did this negative thoughts, these kind of depressing thoughts coming to you from? What has happened to you? So he sets the tone, and Arjuna is woken up from this state of kind of a hypnotic despondency. He doesn't want to think anything further. He says, how did it all come to you? And he straight away scolds him and says, Anarya Justam, Asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. This kind of feelings that you have, it is not suiting you. It's not befitting an Arya. It is anarya. It is not the behavior of noble people. Like teachers in the class, somebody makes a mistake. This doesn't suit a good boy like you. When a teacher says, the student gets a shock. Am I a good boy? The teacher thinks I am a good boy. Likewise, Arjuna is suddenly, Krishna thinks of me as something better than what I think of myself. He says, you're an Arya. You're a noble person. You cannot behave like this. Akirtikaram, this will bring you bad name. So you don't behave like this. And he goes on to scold. He uses a very strong word, Klaibhyam masma gama partha, he says. Don't be unmanly. To tell this to a Kshatriya is like, it's so hurtful to a Kshatriya who's supposed to be very manly, very brave and boisterous, and you tell him you are behaving unmanly. And Arjuna is further, his attention is now on Krishna. What is Krishna going to say? He says, this doesn't suit you. Don't behave like as if you are not a man like that. So now Krishna tells him, Shudram Hridaya Daurbalyam Tyaktva Uttishta Parantapaha. He says, you are Parantapa, means you will torture your enemies. That powerful you are. And you are behaving like a, a silly, like a pussy cat. You are crying here. You are a lion. Wake up, stand up and fight. Don't give into this weakness. See, that's how he gets the attention of Arjuna, who was otherwise going on crying, not willing to listen. So sometimes you have to scold people with hard words just to get their attention. So now that Krishna has the attention of Arjuna, he wants to teach this yoga to him. But still Arjuna goes on saying, how can I kill these people? I rather beg and eat. What kind of goodness with the blood on my hand, blood of my ancestors, my gurus on my hand? How will I enjoy this earth at all? So he says, no, I don't want to fight. He says, na yotsyamiti. I do not want to fight. And then Krishna takes up from there and he says, he tells that I cannot fight, and he tells very clear. Before Krishna starts, another very important thing that you should note is in the shloka number 7, where after getting scoldings of Krishna, Arjuna says, okay, I understand that I am wrong, but I am confused. I do not know what to do. He says, Karpanya dosho apahat swabhava. This is not my swabhava. I am not a weak-minded. I am not unmanly. But somehow today I am like this. My cowardice has, stolen away, has swept away the good sense in me. And now I am not able to discriminate. He says, Prichhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. I am confused about my dharma, sammudha. So I do not know what is right, what is wrong. So I am asking you. You tell me what is right, because I am not in a position to think right. I am attached, so I cannot think right. So he says, Yachreya syan nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadhi mam tvam prapannam. This is very important. He says, what is right for me? What is Shreya Kara? We have read in Kathopanishad, Shreya versus Preya. Shreyascha Preyascha Manushya Metat. Both are there, the pleasant and the good. The pleasant is easy to follow, but it is not good in the long term. So Arjuna has understood that he has made a mistake. Krishna has scolded him, and he understands that he has behaved badly. He shouldn't have behaved like this. But then he is helpless because he is attached. So he tells Krishna, you tell me what is right for me and I will follow. First time in the whole of Mahabharata, Arjuna submits himself to Krishna as a Shishya. Till now he is Krishna's cousin, he is a friend, they have fought over several topics. They have been playing, growing together. They did everything together, very close friends. First time Arjuna says, Shishyasteham. I am your Shishya, I am your student, I am your disciple. You teach me what is right. I am beseeching you, I am surrendering to you, Prapannam. I am surrendering to you, and then you teach me what is right. See, this readiness of disciple is very important for a teacher. If disciple is not ready to learn anything, what can a teacher teach? So both has to happen. That's why Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Vunaktu, Sahaviryam Karvavai. Both have to be ready. The teacher has to be ready to teach, the disciple has to be ready to learn. So first time Arjuna submits, I am your Shishya, consider me as your Shishya and teach me. Krishna becomes happy because he says, Krishna is very again beautiful word has been used. Krishna says, after looking at his further crying and lamenting and whatever, he says, Prahasanniva Bharata. He smilingly talks to Arjuna. Comes in Shloka 10. Tamuvacha Hrishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata. Now Krishna speaks. And how he speaks? Out of smile. Look at this fellow. Sometimes I give smile when people are going on lamenting about something. I just smile saying that they don't know what they're talking. So I feel very kind of connected to this shloka. Then you have to smile. So Krishna as a teacher has become happy with Arjuna's surrender. Prahasanniva Bharata. He speaks with a smile to Arjuna, not with anger, not with disappointment. And then what does he teach? The very opening shloka is like a siksa out of the boundary. Very first message that Krishna gives. He says, Ashocyanva shochastvam pragyavadanscha bhashase gatasun agatasuncha nanu shochanti panditaha. He says, what should not be worried about, what should not be lamented about, you are lamenting about that. But the noble ones, the wise ones have told that what is not worth lamenting about, you should not cry about that. What is there and what is there now and what is not there, it means those people who are alive now and those people who are already gone, one should not cry over them, he says to Arjuna. Because Pandita, the wise ones, don't cry over them. Now this should make Arjuna curious. We should cry over our losses. We should cry over our difficulties. We have all the right to lament over our problems. Why is Krishna saying that one should not? One should not. And he says that the thing that you are crying about is not even worth crying about. Ashocyananavashochastu. It's not even worth crying about. What are you crying about this? So Arjuna is naturally all ears to know what is Krishna talking. Why should I not lament about this war? Why should not cry about killing my own kith and kin? What is Krishna talking? So Krishna says, see, there was never a time when you and I were not there, or these kings and all the warriors were not there. Nor there will be a time when none of us will be there. Again Arjuna is confused. But if I kill them, they are not going to be there. And before they were born, they were not here. And if I die, I also won't be there tomorrow. What is Krishna talking in puzzles? Don't cry about something which should not be cried about. And there was never a time when all of us were not there. Nor there will be a time when all of us won't be there. How is it possible? Because bodies are born, bodies grow, bodies die. You know the 6 vikaras of the body, Shad vikaras we say, right? Jayate, aste, vardate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, mriyate. So we all grow, we die at the end. Born, we grow and die. So that happens to all. Then what is Krishna saying? That there was never a time when we were not there. So that is how he creates jignasa inside Arjuna. Creates curiosity. See, again, a very good teacher. He creates curiosity in the Shishya so that he's all ears to know what is he talking about. Apparently, kind of a paradoxical statement. But then Arjuna is all ears now, and then first time he reveals to Arjuna the concept of Dehi and Deha. We all think we are the body. Arjuna also thought he is just the body. Or at best the mind and the senses and the emotions. Antahkarana. But beyond that we are also something. Actually we are only that. That concept was first introduced in this shloka. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhiras tatrana muhyati. Like birth happens, growth happens, one becomes a boy, then becomes a man, then becomes an old man and then dies. Again the embodied one acquires another body. And therefore the wise one, the discriminating ones don't lament over these losses of the bodies. Because they are not the body, they are the ones who have been embodied inside this body. Dehina. It's like the house owner and the house. House may be constructed, house may get destroyed and reconstructed again, but the owner remains, is what Krishna is saying. This is a new concept to Arjuna again. It's a new concept to everybody in Bhagavad Gita. So far we didn't discuss that there is something called an embodied inside this body. And that is what you are. That is what does not die. It's the first time this concept of Atma is being introduced over here. And he says, I will not go through all the shlokas, but this shloka is important. And then he says, Nasato vidyate bhavo na abhavo vidyate sataha. He says there is never a time when the illusion can exist. Now asat means that which does not have its independent existence. Our scriptures call it asat. Sat is that which has an independent existence. For example, man is existence, but husband is a dependent existence on being a man. Or woman is an existence and wife is a dependent existence. Without a woman, there can't be a wife. Without a man, there cannot be a husband. So husband is asat and man is sat. If you compare it, but actually if you go deeper, you see Atma alone is sat and body and mind are asat. So that is what Krishna is trying to tell. That there was never a time when that which does not exist has any permanence. We cannot be permanent. That which does not exist cannot be permanent. So asat is from that point of view, because the bodies are dependent on Atman for its existence. We think we are breathing, so we are alive. We are eating, so we are alive. But the truth is that we are alive, so we are able to eat. We are alive, so we are able to breathe. Kathopanishad says that. Na pranena panena martyo jivati kaschana itarena tu jivanti yasmineta upashritau, it says. Just by your prana, apana, udana, vyana, samana, you are not alive because of your pancha pranas. Because of something else, these things happen, so you are alive. So this concept has been introduced, saying that that which is an illusion never exists, and that which exists is permanent. It can never disappear. So why do you worry? Again, he goes on to elaborate over there, that Atma, which is the Shashvata, Nitya, that always exists. Bodies come and go. Therefore, don't lament over the passing away of bodies. That's the conclusion from here. And he says, if you think you are killing them, ya enam vetti hantaram, yaschainam manyate hatam, ubhau tau na vijanitau, nayam hanti na hanyate. This one is neither killed nor it kills. Atma neither is killed nor it kills anybody. Because Atma is everything. Therefore, those who think somebody is killing somebody else and somebody is killed, both don't know what is the truth. So if that side, Kauravas party thinks that we are going to kill Pandavas, and Pandavas think we are going to kill Kauravas, both don't know that this is not the truth. Because the truth is Atman never can be killed, nor it kills anybody. So this is a very important shloka. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. 20th shloka again. It is never born, it never dies. There was never a time once born that it disappeared. It always was once it was born. And there will never be a time when it won't exist. Look at the beauty of this set. There's no scripture, no religion, no philosophy in the world talks this way. Only we talk in Sanatana Dharma. That we are ageless, we are birthless, we are deathless, we are ever. Nobody else says this. No religion of the world says this. It says, Ajo Nityaha Shashvata. It's never born, it is always there, it is Shashvata. Forever. Purano, it is the oldest. It came in the beginning when the universe started. Creation happened, it appeared then. So the oldest it is. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. If the body is destroyed, it is not destroyed. This is a very important shloka. You must pay attention to this. Then the most famous shlokas about Atman. This is all Saankhya Yoga. So he says, Atman vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya. We all know that shloka. That like we give up old clothes and take new clothes, so also the Atma gives up the old bodies and takes up new bodies. So this is the idea why you will not discuss with Yama, please give me another extension. Because all right, this is an old body, it must go. I will get a new body if I need to get one. Otherwise, I will get out of this cycle of birth and death by being desireless. So this idea, this clarity is important. Nainam chindanti shastrani, again a very important shloka from here. So you are beyond all this. Body will go through all these things, but you will not go through. They give confidence to the dying soul. And the dying soul feels relieved. Oh, I will continue. I am not going to end with the end of the body. So these are the very important shlokas that children should memorize. Of course, they should memorize the whole Bhagavad Gita. Then I will skip a few and look at Krishna's logic. So far he went saying that Atma exists which does not die. Therefore, don't worry. Even if you kill them, they don't really die. Even if they kill you, you also really don't die. So how does it matter? Let's go ahead at the war. That is what Krishna is trying to convince him. But he looks at Arjuna's face. There is a big question mark over there. What is this Atma? What is this body? So far I did not know that Atma was there. I knew body was there and things like that. So Krishna gives another logic. That is why Saankhya Yoga. He says, Athachayanam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mrutam tathapi tvam mahabaho naivam shotistum arhasi. But even if you think that you are being born and you are constantly dying, then also you should not cry, he says. Do not worry. If you don't believe in Atma and you think we are all going to be dying and we are going to be born again, if you believe only in birth and death also, still you should not lament. Now look at another curiosity in Arjuna. Because jatasya hi dhruvam mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Because anybody who is born has to die someday. They'll die today in the war. What is the big deal? That is what Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna. Anyway, they are going to die. You know that. Even if you don't believe in Atma, okay, keep that philosophy aside. Let us take the next analogy. Let us do some more analysis. Anyway, anybody who is born will die someday. So how does it matter if they die in the war or they die in the ventilator? Anywhere somebody has to die. So don't worry about that also. Let us go ahead with the war. Is what Krishna is telling. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatraka paridevana, he says. Before we are born, we are unmanifest. When we are born, we become manifest. When we die, we become again unmanifest. So what is the big deal about it? Why are you crying? Let us go ahead with the war. So Arjuna cannot say, see, I don't believe in Atma because I can't smell Atma, touch Atma, taste Atma, see Atma. So what can I do? I don't believe in your philosophy. So Krishna is saying, okay, don't believe in Atma. At least you believe in birth and death. You know everybody who is born is going to die. So anyway, they are going to die today or tomorrow. How does it matter if they die today than tomorrow? This is how he is able to convince Arjuna. Anyway, after this he talks, a very beautiful shloka comes about Atman Ascharyavat patati paschati kaschatena, Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanya. People talk about this Atman in a very, they're all stupefied. They talk it in wonder because they don't understand its nature. Even after talking about it, Ascharyavat chaina anyam shrunoti, Shrutva penam vedana chaiva kaschit. Despite listening to it several times from several people in several satsangs, still this doesn't get inside our head that we are Atman and we are not the body. This is the plight. This is the subtleness of this truth. So Krishna is so good. He is telling that don't worry if you didn't understand this, because a lot of people have not understood. I have taught this to many people, but not many have understood. So don't worry if you don't understand this. That is how he is able to tell him. But he says that it exists in all, so don't worry. He just simply goes and tell him that don't run away from the battle now, because third logic. First logic is Atma exists, so don't worry, nobody dies. 2, even if you don't understand, anyway everybody who is born is going to die, so let us go ahead with the war. 3, he says, if you run away from your duty, everybody will laugh at you. Everybody will make fun of you, because you run away from the battlefield like a coward. Your enemies will jeer at you. They will talk about you for generations that there was one coward called Arjuna who ran away from the battlefield. See, he's bringing down the analysis to even this level. The most supreme level, Atma. Middle level, birth and death. Even lower than that, if you run away, people will laugh at you. At least to save your name, please fight. Because it is better to die than to have a bad name, Krishna tells. How he is teaching Arjuna, that is very interesting in this Saankhya Yoga. And he goes on to say, a lot of things he says about that nindas, that they will be ridiculing you. He says, there is nothing worse, no pain worse than being ridiculed by people and laughed at by them, especially being a Kshatriya who ran away from the battlefield. So he explains all these things, and then he says, very logically says, see, fight any which way, because hatova prapyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim. If you die on the battlefield as a Kshatriya, you will attain Swarga. We all know that our ancestors used to always think of going to Swarga after death and not to the Naraka. Swarga was supposed to be a place where you enjoy the fruit of all your good actions. So you as a Kshatriya should at least try to go to Swarga after death. So even if you die on the battlefield, you will go to Swarga because you did your duty, you didn't run away. And even if you win, you will enjoy the kingdom. As a Kshatriya, you are supposed to rule the kingdom. Either ways, it's good. So tasmat uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. Therefore, get up. Don't sit on that seat anymore. Get up now and decide to fight. How Krishna is convincing him. And then he says, how do you fight? This is very beautiful. He says, Sukha dukkha same krutva labha alabhav jaya ajayau. Tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam vapsasi. If you think you are committing sin by killing your kith and kin, don't worry. If you fight the war with the idea that both good and bad are equal to you, sukha or dukkha, joy and sorrows are equal, and winning and losing is equal to you, with that idea you fight this war. The one who fights like this, without attachment to the results, never incurs sin. This is the answer to the question, how do we act in the world? Because when we act, we may do many things, some are sinful, some are meritorious. At the end, how are we going to be facing the consequences? Krishna says you can be absolved of all the consequences if you develop this idea that you don't do action for the sake of results. You do it for the sake of doing your dharma. And that is why he comes and says that till here I have given you knowledge of Saankhya Yoga, analytical knowledge of why you should fight the war. Let us revise halfway through the chapter we are. First, you are Atman, you don't die. All are Atman, nobody dies. So it doesn't matter, nobody kills, nobody is killed. Believe in this truth and let us fight the war. 2, even if you don't believe Atman and all this truth, because a lot of people have not understood it, you know there is birth and death and everybody is going to be dying someday. Either ways, your grandfather, your uncles, your cousins and your gurus are going to die someday. So how does it matter if they die in the battlefield which is being fought for the sake of righteousness? Let it be, he says. 3rd, he says, if you run away from the battlefield being a Kshatriya, people will mock at you, people will laugh at you, and living with a bad name is worse than death. So don't do that. Go and fight the war, because if you fight the war and you die, you will go to Swarga. If you survive this war, you will rule the kingdom. Either ways, you are benefiting. So get up and fight the war. This is how first part he concludes. Now he tells him much deeper part, which is about Buddhi Yoga. He says, Esha te abhita Saankhya buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu. Till now I have told about Saankhya Yoga. Now I am going to talk to you about Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi means discrimination basically here. Intelligence, but discriminating intelligence, which knows right from wrong. So he says, now you understand, I am going to teach you about Buddhi Yoga. Because Buddhya yukto ya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Because the one who understands this Buddhi, gets this Buddhi, becomes Buddha, that person will be able to break away from karma bandhas, from the bondage of action and consequences. See, it's very important, because if you fight the war, let us say Arjuna gets convinced, fights the war. But if he fights the war with the wrong attitude, he will suffer. That is the concern of Krishna. I may be able to convince Arjuna to fight the war, but I am concerned that he will have to face the consequences if his attitude is not correct in fighting the war. So I will teach you Buddhi Yoga now, so that your attitude is set right. So now you have to fight the war, but you must also know how to fight the war. So he says, Neha Vikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. This I often quote. That even if you know a little bit of this Buddhi Yoga, this idea of Dharma, greatest of the fears will be alleviated. You will not have any fear to work in this world. So how do I act in this world? If I fail, what will happen? If I succeed also, what will happen? I must know how to deal with both, the success and failure. So that is the idea. He says that, Krishna says, little also if you learn about it to Arjuna, you will be able to get rid of all the fears that you have. I am killing my people, I will incur sin, and all kinds of fears and illusions you will get rid of. And he says, for that you must develop one-pointed buddhi. It's called Vyavasayatmika buddhi. Your mind should be focused, your buddhi should have only one single pointed focus. Because only those people attain something in life. All others whose mind is scattered, whose thoughts are scattered, who have no focus, no steadiness, they attain nothing, he says. He says, Bahushaka hi anantascha buddhyo avyavasainam. When you have multiple thoughts running parallelly in your head, like, should I kill this person? What will be the sin of it? Where will I go? Naraka, Swarga. Don't confuse yourself with too many thoughts. Keep one thought in your focus. This is my dharma, I must execute this dharma. For the sake of dharma, not for winning or losing. So he goes on saying that in our scriptures, lot of things have been spoken, Vedas. Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda is there. Karma Kanda is like our Vajashravas, who was Nachiketa's father, always busy doing some yajna, cutting corners and trying to get to Swarga, giving old cows in donation and thinking he will be somehow managed to get into Swarga. So Veda, there is next 3-4 shlokas there, you can read for yourself, which basically talks about the Karma Kandis who listen to the flowery words of the Vedas, which tell, if you do this, you will attain this. If you do that, you will attain that. A lot of our people are there, Lakshmi Kubera Homa you do, then you will become rich. Ayush Homa you do, you will live long. Mrityunjay Homa do, you never die. But they all do. The people are there who want to do all these things like Vajashravas. But our Krishna does not want Arjuna to become Vajashravas. He wants him to become like Nachiketa, curious to know the truth and then do his dharma. So he tells, lot of these things are there, which are all because you have gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, and to cater to the needs of these gunas, lot of yajna yagas, karma kandas have been told. Most of the people are busy with that. Don't you get into that. He wants Arjuna before itself, that there is a path, very flowery and very tempting path of going to heavens and attaining higher lokas, but don't get into that. He says you go beyond that. He says, Nistrair gunyo bhavarjuna, go beyond the 3 gunas of laziness, lethargy, or passion of action, or even sattvic guna, he says you have to transcend. I am a good person. That thinking also should go away, he says. Because that also can be impediment in attaining the highest. And he says, don't worry about these Vedas. He gives a very beautiful example. Again, Krishna's way of teaching, uses examples, uses a lot of analogies. He says, what? Yava nartha udapane sarvata samplutodke. The purpose that is served by a well which has water, same purpose is served by even a big lake or even an ocean. Or not ocean in the real sense, a big lake. In the sense, if you are thirsty, you can drink from a well. Or you can drink from a big lake also. It's not the size of the lake or the well, it's your thirst that is to be quenched. That matters. So don't worry about reading all the Vedas and all Vedangas and things like that. If you understand this one thing that I am telling you now, it is as good as knowing everything. See, again, Krishna makes it so easy for him. Tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. The one who knows this knows all that is there in all the Vedas. That's why Vedas, the summary of or the essence of Vedas or Upanishads, Upanishads' essence is Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita's essence is Saankhya Yoga, which Krishna is teaching now. How do we behave? And comes the most popular shloka, Karmanyeva adhikaraste, ma phaleshu kadachana, ma karma phalaheturbuh, ma te sangostu akarmani. He says, this is very important. The second part is more important. Most of us know the first part. Do karma and don't worry about the result. That is not your right. But the second part says that, so just because you should not desire for results, don't give up action, he says. Don't work for the sake of the action at the same time, because nothing is going to come to you at the end. Don't give up action. You should do action, but don't think of the results. And just because you are not supposed to think of the results, don't stop doing action. Many children, anyway I am going to fail tomorrow, let me sleep. For that 30 marks, why should I struggle? I'll lose one more night's sleep. No, that is not the way. You have to still do whatever you can do. Right? Because any effort put with sincerity will find its way to the rightful result. But for that sake, you should not do. And then comes another very important shloka. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddha siddhayoha samobhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Equanimity is yoga, he is concluding. He says that develop this kind of yoga where your mind is absorbed in only the action part of it, but not on the result. That yoga you develop and don't have any attachment to the results. Siddha, whether you succeed or whether you fail, both you treat as equal. So if you do very well in a project, you get a lot of praise from me on the stage, you should be same. And if you don't do well and then you get scoldings, you should still be the same. So that is how you must learn. You sing well, I'll praise you. Don't sing well, I'll scold you. Both ways you should remain the same. But doesn't mean that I will stop practicing because anyway I get scoldings. So refer to the previous shloka. You can't give up action just because you are not succeeding. So he says, go beyond success and failure. That is samatvam, that is equanimity. That is true yoga, Krishna is saying. So he has defined what is yoga. Samatvam yoga muchyate. Yoga is said to be equanimity. So if somebody asks you what is yoga, don't start. I know yoga. I start in the morning with Surya Namaskara. After that I do something else. No. Yoga is, if you become equanimous, that is the result, that is the end purpose of all yoga, is to become equanimous in all situations. So that is the idea. I will skip a few. Another very important shloka, we picked our university's motto from this shloka, number 50. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukruta dushkrute tasmat yogaya ujjasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is all about perfection in action. See, he says equanimity is yoga. Why? Because you are not bothering about the results. So is that enough? No. Perfecting the action, despite not bothering about the results, you must do your actions perfectly. That is also yoga, he says. Two things are there, action and the rewards. Not bothering about the rewards is yoga, yes. But bothering about the action is also yoga, he is saying. Many people don't bother about the rewards, so they also don't bother about the action. But Krishna says, no, don't bother about the rewards, but bother about the action, how you are doing it perfectly or not. That is very important. So understand this idea of buddhi yoga. You must act, and with all your interest in the action, you must do it to your best capacity. But don't bother about the result. Results come good, people praise you, fine. They don't come as per the expectations and something goes wrong, you are still fine because you have given your best. Now many people take refuge in this thought and say that, Swami said don't worry about the result and therefore I didn't bother and I failed. It cannot happen. I will permit you that refuge only if you have done your very best and there is nothing else you could have done. Then you are free from the sin. But if you could have done something more, but you wantingly held yourself back, you didn't give your 100% to it, at least to the best of your capacity and ability, then you are not absolved of the sin of making the project fail or making anything go wrong. You are completely responsible for it. This is Buddhi Yoga. It's so important, especially for people who are working in organizations like ours, where we have to work selflessly. The very first mandate in our organization is you serve without any expectations. Whatever comes, accept is as prasadam from God. You offered Naivedyam, you received some prasadam. At the same time, just because the prasadam is not so much as you would get elsewhere, I will also work accordingly. That does not exist. I always say, in an organization, a corporate, for a 100% gain, you work 100%, give your 100%. For a charitable organization, you have to work 200% because that is your additional contribution to the charitable organization, which is working for people's sake. So, how much you should work? Not the 8 hours of duty which you have been assigned because you are given a salary or some remuneration for that. I know you are doing very well for the 8 hours, you are doing your best. But our duty does not end there. That's what I was telling yesterday. Duty with love is not enough. Love without duty is to be practiced. That is yoga. I do because I love my children, I love all the devotees, I love the humanity. So we work for it. Whether they praise me or blame me, they are with me or they abandon me, these are not the concerns for which we work. That is the idea of yoga again. So Arjuna has become curious enough. He says, I can't imagine a state like this where I have to work and not worry about the results. Because if I'm not sure of getting results, I will not work at all. That is my habit. So what kind of people work like this, he asks. Sita prajnasya ka bhasha, he says. How these people are, how do they exist? How do they live at all? They don't bother about the results, yet they are so busy doing action with perfection. What kind of species are these? Are they humans or something else? So that is the curiosity Arjuna has got. Sita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. That is 54th shloka, that how these people behave, how they sit, walk, talk, without realizing that Krishna himself is standing in front of him, who is the very embodiment of the Sthita Prajna. But Arjuna is unaware. Because till now he was only a friend, a cousin, and so you never could understand that he could also be a jnani like this. That Krishna was a Sthita Prajna. Arjuna had no clue. He was living under the darkness of the lamp. So this is what he asked Krishna, and Krishna should have again smiled. According to me, one shloka should be added here. Prahasanniva Bharata, like that. Krishna smiles, oh foolish Arjuna, I am standing in front of you. Can't you make out this much, like that? But anyway, Krishna is Krishna. He has all the patience in the world. So he says, how do they are? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan. When you give up all the desires of your heart, you don't work for any wish or any desire. Atmanyeva atmana tushta sthita prajna stadochyute. When you are happy within yourself, for no reason. You are happy because you are just doing what you are supposed to do, what divine wills. That is what you are doing. That's why you are happy. That person is a Sthita Prajna, he says, who has no agenda in life, who has no purpose of his own. He is here only to execute the divine will. He is so connected to that divine within. He is always happy. Good happens, bad happens, and everything he is happy. That is Sthita Prajna. And he says, Dukkheshu anudvigna manah sukheshu vigata spraha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthitadhi muni ruchyate. He gives up. His heart is not shaken by sadness or by bad news, nor he gets excited when good news comes, sukha comes. Vitaraga bhaya krodha. He has no attachment. Raga bhaya krodha. No attachment, no fear. Because no attachment, no fear, and no anger. When you have attachments, only you have anger and fear. If it doesn't happen, angry. What if it does not happen? Fear. Because of attachment. So he is free of all attachments. He is totally detached. He may appear to be very interested in everything, but he is actually not attached. That's what I tell. I ask myself every day, am I ready to drop all these things next moment? And if I must, if I have to, will I regret? Will I cry? Will I lament over it? I always ask this question to me. Every day I ask myself. And the answer always has to be, no, I will not regret. I will not attach to any of these things. That is how a Sthita Prajna must think. Must be busy day in, day out, 24/7. Work for others' welfare, not for one's sake. At the same time, be very ready to drop it any moment without any regret or attachment. That is how you must be. And beautiful shlokas are there, and he teaches him further that you must learn to withdraw your senses, because senses are the reason why they get attracted to sense objects, and they drag the mind and drag the buddhi and make you do all kinds of things. So learn to develop some control over your mind and senses. is what he tells. And he says, how do we do? Again, a beautiful example like the tortoise, which withdraws all its limbs when it sights danger. Like that, you should have the ability to withdraw everything into this Atma. He says, Yada samharate chayam kurmanga niva sarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya prajna pratishtita. The wise one immediately withdraw their mind and senses. How that fellow is coming? He is definitely going to irritate me now. Can I deal with him? No. So what should I do? Escape into yourself. Get into a state of calmness so that you can deal with the person better. Running away, where you will run? Rabbit wanted to run away from the earth because he had to pay earth's debts, it seems. Where you will run away from this earth? Where will you run away from people? Where are you going to go and hide? Somebody will always be there to create some problem. So learn to face the problem is what Krishna is saying. How? First withdraw your senses within. Learn to withdraw your senses. That is what this is where Raja Yoga comes into picture. Where is, we have learnt about that Yam, Shama, Dama, Uparati. This is Uparati. So this is what you should do. Like a tortoise, you should immediately withdraw. And how you should withdraw? See, we may run away from the objects. For example, a very tempting thing to eat. But you are not supposed to eat because your doctor told you if you eat this, you will fall sick. But you are very tempted. So what you can do? Run away from the samosa or the gulab jamun or ice cream, especially diabetes patients. And then what you do? Think about it whole time. Oh, how nice that gulab jamun was. Red, round, dark, it was juicy. And repent, should have eaten it. So what, tomorrow Dr. Rajdeep is there, he will anyway give medicine, he doesn't scold. So that thinking. So he says very important shloka, especially for young boys and girls. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. See, all children ask me, Swami, today you gave very beautiful discourse. We were so happy. 2 days our mind was in control, senses were all behaving themselves. Third day everything went for a toss. We are back to our old self. Like a rubber band, you stretch it, leave it, it goes back to where it is. Mind has gone back to our old ways, old habits. What do I do? So Krishna gives the answer. See, Diraharasya Dehina, when you deprive your body of all the sense objects, for that moment body may withdraw from the senses. Then mind will naturally go. So Niraharasya Dehina, when you withdraw don't allow the body, then it may be possible to control the body for some time. But how do you get rid of the thought itself, he says? Action you can avoid. By some discipline, warden is around, I can't do this. But without warden also, how do you not crave for it? That is the answer. Krishna says, Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Only when you see the param, the highest experience of Atman, when you have param drishtva nivartate. After that, this rasa, the interest in these worldly things, not only the external giving up of things, but even internal longing for it will disappear. You cut the grass, lawn, mower. Grass goes away, lawn looks neat, but the root remains. And the root grows back again after 2 days. Likewise, the desire for it may remain deep within us. Temporarily it is subdued because of the wardens and the discipline of the place. But the moment these things are removed, again it will grow up. So what is the permanent solution? Permanent solution is realize yourself. Krishna says very clearly. Param drishtva nivartate. After that it will never trouble you. If you attain that self, these lower desires will not trouble you. You don't have to run away from them. They can be all around you. You are not affected like Buddha. You have grown beyond it. You have overcome those desires. You have outgrown them. That happens only when you realize yourself. So those who ask me, Swami, how do I control? Final solution to that is realize yourself. That is the final method. Like our Chanakya story I tell, when a thorny bush pricked his foot. He didn't cut the bush. He got some sugar syrup and poured on that bush so that ants will come and eat it up from the roots. It will never grow again. So that method is to realize the divine self. Then all the desires will disappear once for all without a trace. So there is no question of them growing back again in another time and situation. So he says, whatever we do, haranti pasabham mana, mind is very powerful, you have to be watchful, it pulls you away. That's why somewhere it was mentioned, yogo hi prabhavapyayo, in Kathopanishad, that yoga is good, but yoga is prone to growth and decline. Someday you are a great yogi, you have everything under control, next day you lose control. But this method of param drishtva will make you permanently capable of overcoming everything. It won't trouble you anymore. And so he says that Prajna Pratishtita, those people who are established in that highest wisdom are those who have complete control on themselves because they have realized the truth. They have tasted the highest, therefore they don't have craving and desires for the lower. There's a beautiful shloka, 2 shlokas I will take, then we'll more or less come to an end. Dhyayato Vishayan Punsa, you know that. Sangasteshu upajayate, sangat sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodho vijayate, krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat buddhi nasho, buddhi nashat pranashyati. 8 steps to one's ruin. Krishna is so logical. That is why Saankhya Yoga is beautiful. And it says, if you think of something for too long, you will develop attachment to it. Once you develop attachment, you will develop desire for it. Once you develop desire and you are not able to fulfill it, you will develop anger for it. If anger comes, then you will develop delusion, because an angry man is like a drunk man, can't think straight, can't think right. And once you are deluded, all your discrimination goes for a toss. You cannot remember what is right, what is wrong. You speak whatever comes to your mouth. And once your discrimination is lost, your buddhi, intelligence to make the right decision is lost. And once that is lost, you are destroyed. It's very beautifully how to get rid of things. Patanjali Yoga Sutta says, Drishta Anushravika Vishaya Vitrashnasya Vashikara Sangya iti Vairagyam, he says. Drishta, even if you have seen it, you can develop desire. Or that which you have heard about, you have not seen. Almost the last shloka we are coming to. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. He says that person who is wise is like the one who is awake when everybody is sleeping, and he is sleeping when everybody is awake. So that sounds very familiar, like our medical school students. When everybody is awake, they go to sleep. When everybody sleeps, they come awake, start reading. Now, they are not Brahmagyanis. They are Agyanis of the highest order. What it says is that what seems like everybody is aware and everybody is knowledgeable about, like our relatives give suggestions, no? Do this, do that, don't go to that Baba, don't be in that ashram, you will become this, you will become that. They think they are all aware, they are all very Gyanis. But they are the Agyanis, that is what it means. Because they are running behind the worldly things, giving up the higher truth. Whereas those who are in this ashram, they all have realized, at least they have understood the highest purpose of life is to realize divinity. Everything else is secondary. In fact, not even necessary. Unwanted actually. But the person who sees us from outside will think, what kind of mad people are these? It is like that. So this comparison that when they are asleep, he is awake. When he is asleep, they are awake. They're contrary to each other in their approach towards life is what it is being said. They put so much of effort to gain worldly things and have no desire for God. Whereas we want God and we are able to ignore worldly things, so they laugh at us. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa would say, for a man who is world intoxicated, the God intoxicated person looks like a madman. For a God intoxicated person, the world intoxicated person looks like a madman. So we can never understand them, they can never understand us. Because they are living in another world. They are sleeping when we are awake. But they think the other way. So this is how it finally comes. And there is the last shloka which says that such a person, like an ocean, he becomes like an ocean, which can absorb any amount of water and still it remains undisturbed. That is the nature of the Sthita Prajna. Good comes, bad comes, more comes, less comes, praise comes, blame comes, whatever comes, he is able to absorb it all. Accommodate it within himself and not get disturbed despite that. That is how you must fight the war, he tells Krishna. Every answer to every question that anyone can ever ask in this world is there in this. I cannot become a sannyasi, all right. I don't believe in Atma, all right. You believe in birth and death, at least that transience should make you think twice. Why you are running behind the wrong things which are going to disappear tomorrow. Think of something higher. Your sukha, dukkha, labha, alabha, one day happy, one day sad. How long this drama will go on? When will you cross all this and, grow above this? When will you go beyond these gunas? This question we have to ask ourselves every day. Till when I am going to fight with my senses an endless war? Most of the time I am the one who is bruised and lost the war. How long this battle is going to go on? Like Rakta Bijasura, one goes and another comes. How long these desires will keep chasing me? When will I overcome all this and become a Sthita Prajna is the question everybody should ask themselves. That is what Krishna is pushing Arjuna towards. And where it begins? Kuru Seva, Tvam Kuru Seva. For what sake? For Loka Sangraha. For the benefit of others, without desire. Begin there. That's why it says service, selfless service is the shortest route to divinity. And what an opportunity in these institutions. Your job is service. Your work is your worship. Your daily chores are your sadhana here. Can you ask for a better opportunity? And given according to your likes and dislikes. Somebody likes cooking, he's a cook. Somebody is a musician. Somebody is a teacher. Somebody is a doctor. You have every opportunity to do exactly what you are born to do as per your gunas. At the same time, you have the opportunity to redeem yourself. Can you ask for a better opportunity than this? If anybody who throws it away, Atmahano Janaha, that is what scriptures say. You have killed yourself, harakiri. You have committed suicide. But Arjuna was sincere. He really wanted to change. So that's why Krishna was compassionate. But I feel very terrible about people who don't understand this basic. And they keep running behind the same thing, having hurt themselves any number of times. Yet they go behind it. It's like the dog biting the dry bone and sucking his own blood and thinking the blood is coming from the bone. That is the foolishness and madness of this world. That's why all these jnanis can do nothing but just look at the whole world with pity. But I feel compassion, like Krishna. No, I must help them come out of this foolish thinking. I must wake them up. I must make them aware of what is right, what is wrong. And if you are a good disciple, Shishyasteham, then you have wonderful opportunity to learn. Every aspect of this organization, institution gives you ample opportunities to practice Sankhya Yoga. It is only up to you how far you want to do it. So how much you do, like as I said, whether you dip into a lake or dip into a pot of water or dip into a well, as per the size of your cup, you will attain that water. So how much you gain out of this environment, this opportunity, these institutions depends on you, not on me, not on anybody else. So don't look here and there, look within, look around as to what you can do more and become a better jnani, a better person, better devotee, better sevaka, and a jnani at the end, a sthita prajna. So your measure of your spiritual progress is how quickly you go back to that zero state. I keep telling, there could be a fluctuation, but you must come back to the steady state. How quickly you come back is the measure of your progress. Earlier used to take 2 days to overcome your sadness or anger or frustration. Now it happens within 2 hours you are back to steady state. It means you have progressed. Next time it is 2 minutes you are back to your peaceful state. You are really progressed. Next time you don't fluctuate at all. You have become jnani. This is the essence of this thing. Work as worship, do selflessly without desires of the outcome, but nevertheless give your 100% best for the welfare of others. Do your duty to the best of your ability, offer it all to God, and always discriminate between right and wrong. Keep your mind and senses under control and continue to practice equanimity in your life. This is the essence of this chapter, knowing fully well that all around is temporary. Atma alone is real, and you don't have to worry about dying and being born again. As long as you follow this, you'll lead a peaceful, equanimous life and you'll find fulfillment.